anyone who's successful in this world, it's you try and you try again, you're knocked down, you stand up again, and you keep doing. Consistency and dedication is critical to any success story. And now with that, I wanted to just take you through my presentation with the theme of consistency. You will see how Tanzania has been consistent in the ASM sector. And just before I proceed, I just wanted to acknowledge, all the dignitaries, CSPS. I'm sure they're still out for lunch, but I wanted to recognize all the leaders of industry, protocols observed. Thank you so much for being here. Nation Media and the rest of the team, thank you for organizing this. It is one of the best attended conferences I've been myself. And we hosted one last year, Nyanza Gold Summit. And I hope Nation Media, we can partner for that one, because the Nyanza Gold Summit is actually done on the ground with the people on the ground. So that one also has got quite an impact. Tutaonana nyuma ya tent for that one. So based on that, who are we? Impact Facility, a quick introduction. We are a social enterprise organization that currently has 3 programs. We have the equipment leasing program. This is a program where we give equipment to artisanal and small-scale miners. Our goal is to graduate people from where they are. So if you're an artisanal and small-scale miner, we will help graduate you up to a small-scale miner. If you're a small-scale miner, we'll work with you to graduate you up to a junior miner. So this is some of our goals. We also have a responsible mineral credits program. This is where we give a bonus, or we give a sort of a package to people who can prove that their gold was responsibly mined. This is currently ongoing in Tanzania, where we have been able to actually give, I think, up to $13,000 to organizations or to small-scale miners who are doing responsible mining, and those funds are then used to continue improving their operations. We also run an organization called Mine Your Own Business. If you look at the back of my shirt, there is a saying that says Mine Your Own Business, which is an academy that helps you improve. If you're a small-scale miner or artisanal miner, we help you improve on your work. Bookkeeping, literacy training, financial literacy, just help you to become formalized and be bankable. You also see there's a whole bunch of partners we work with. Some who I was not able to put in there is we also work closely with KCM. As I mentioned, we did a Nyanza Gold Summit last year, and they were a very integral partner for that. We also work with ASMAC, which is the Artisanal Small Scale Miners Association of Kenya. And yeah, we have several other partners who we work very closely with. But the key ones are identified there as well. These are from international organizations that support us financially. Let me just recognize our dignitaries walking in. Thank you for joining us. So just for a very quick reintroduction, Edward Dirango project from Impact Facility. Today we are discussing ASM, artisanal small-scale mining, and we wanted to just showcase our neighboring country, Tanzania, and the success they have had in ASM. Waziri Mavunde, naomba unipe nafasi niimbe masifu za Tanzania kidogo, just to let people know that we have a very strong neighbor who is excelling very much in ASM. So quickly, the Impact Facility has been doing some work in the region. These are just some of the numbers. I won't spend too much time on them. But just to mention is that you can see we've been able to dispatch about $178,000 to support small-scale miners in Kenya. In Tanzania, we have a program that we are expecting to start this quarter in Q2, where we have lined up to $550,000 with more to come. We are working very closely with one of the partners, MBC Bank. We are also working with Stamico. We have also partnered with Femata. And even just last week, we attended a conference by TAWOMA, the Tanzanian Women Miners Association, to see if there's a possibility to have a partnership with them. So that is what we are currently working with. And some of these numbers from a mining point of view, they are small numbers. But our goal as the Impact Facility is to show that it is possible to have financial inclusivity for the ASM. They are bankable people. They are people you can actually work with, finance, and you will see your benefits and your dividends coming back. As you can see, there's an 86% repayment rate that we have been enjoying. So quickly, I just wanted to walk us through the success story that is Tanzania. I won't read each point there just because for the benefit of time, but I just want to say that where Tanzania is today was not a fluke. This is again back to my theme of consistency. It is consistent, dedicated support, starting from as far back as over 40 years ago in 79, up to today. This is something that has really boosted their economy and one of the key contributors to the growth of the middle class in Tanzania. So the one thing that also caught my ear yesterday when Waziri Mavunde was speaking is they don't look at ASM as a problem to be solved. They look at it as an industry to be scaled. So it is that thinking that helps them be able to support the ASM and grow that sector. So Tanzania is performing so well that the #1 gold producer in Africa, who is Ghana, said, wow, we need to visit Tanzania and see, what they're doing down there and see if we could emulate it. So last year in 2025, there was a group of dignitaries and people from the mining sector in Ghana who visited Tanzania. The Impact Facility was part of that team. We were able to facilitate that trip in conjunction with STAMICO and the Ministry of Mining. And it was a very successful trip. The goal of that trip was the Ghana BOD wanted to understand how ASM is working and how they can redirect gold to their central banks, because BOT is doing it very, very well on that side. They wanted to outcompete the illicit markets. The buying markets in Tanzania, yesterday we were told there are 44 of them. They're doing extremely well in order to just be able to give access to markets for those who are producing gold. And then also they wanted to maximize their national tax revenue. So, one of the things that Ghana took away from this whole thing was that, they were very impressed with how a company like STAMICO is being able to provide the tools that are needed on the ground for the small scale. One of the sites we visited was a demonstration processing site in an area called Wamgasa in the Geita region, in the Geita area. And this is a processing plant that is fully dedicated to support the ASM. They bring their stones there, their ore. It is processed. They at a very high recovery rate. There's also training that happens there. It also acts as a place where you can go and get your inputs, whether you're a leaching company or whether you're a miner. And so it was just a place that really boosts and helps push that industry. And just to close off on this line was actually a phrase that I picked up yesterday and listening to Waziri Mavunde. He said that the mineral contributions to Tanzania as of last year was 600 million, and 40% of that came from ASM. That was astounding to hear, and it certainly is a major milestone. So, based on the key takeaways from Ghana, the Ghanaians, obviously being the #1 producers of gold, you can see there they have about 95 tons annually, while Tanzania last year did as much as 65 tons. And obviously in value, it's much more. But if you look at the bottom line, the local industry jobs, you will see that ASM generates much more impact job-wise than even LSM. Some of the stats say that for every 1 job created by LSM, 20 are created by ASM. This is the shortcut to grow your middle class. Yes, and I think I did touch on some of these points on this next slide. And the other very, very critical thing is that ASM, the value that is generated from ASM, about 80% of that remains in the country. It means it continues circulating within the economy. Small-scale mining creates a whole bunch of industries. You have fabricators, the professionals who are working there, the people in the industry, hotel industry. All of those people tend to benefit from this. So 80% of those funds generated remain circulating within the economy. So that is a very, very strong also driver of the power of ASM. One of the points I'd wanted to mention here was, I think it was a quote from Aliko Dangote, who said that if your country is exporting raw materials, you're importing poverty. To create jobs here, we must export finished products. Again, this goes to one of the points that Waziri Joho has been mentioning. Beneficiation is the way forward. But even more than that, you empower your local people in the sense of they get the training that they need. They then become a powerhouse of knowledge, which then starts to export that knowledge. I can tell you, for example, the ball mill used in the ASM here in Kenya, the dry ball mill, who, if anyone has been to the ASM grounds, you'll see it. That came from Tanzania. That is something that Tanzania had created 20 years ago, and Kenya took over and has now also adopted that. A lot of also experts that we are using to build a lot of things here in Kenya are getting their knowledge from Tanzania. So this is what happens when you empower ASM, you also empower the local knowledge. And on that note, in regards to consistency in innovation, I wanted to give an example of a processing plant in the Geita region called Mwamba Processing. Mwamba is a company that started, I think, in 2018 as a pilot. And as of 2025, they had attained a lot of milestones that are globally recognized. For starters, they are recognized by the World Gold Council as one of only 2 global success stories in the world of being able to do ASM to that high level. So this is the type of benchmarks that Tanzania is setting up. The other thing that Mwamba has been able to show us is that it is possible for ASM and LSM to coexist. One of the things that Mwamba does is they work very closely with some of the LSM. They worked almost as a medium with the LSM. So if LSM need to do some sort of a program that is to pull in the ASM and do some coexistence, they do it through Mwamba. And so far, it is working for at least one large-scale mining company that I'm sure of is working with Mwamba, and it's working very, very well. And just as one point is that Mwamba did not succeed in a vacuum. They succeeded because Tanzania had created an ecosystem for ASM to excel. So these people knew, these investors came and they knew that if we come and we pump in our millions here, we are guaranteed that it is going to succeed because the ecosystem is ready for us. I do not want to spend too much time on this because I want this to be an optimistic conversation we are having, but it is also important to know the downside of poor ASM frameworks. You know, they say, hope for the best, but plan for the worst. This is what they call an ASM poverty cycle. In this cycle, it has something called a multiplier effect, where, you know, there's no revenue to invest, so that means you have poor infrastructure. Poor infrastructure leads to accidents. You can see that, you know, there are major injuries that happen in such scenes. It also leads to low production, which then leads to low revenue, which then leads to, again, lack of investing into your operations, which then continues again to poor infrastructure. It's just a poverty cycle. And one of the things that we as the Impact Facility are looking to do is we are trying to prove to the likes of the banks and any other financial institutions that, you know, there's a financial inclusion program we are running that can make you realize that these people are bankable. Let's work with them. Let's build this middle class. We are also, as Impact Facility, lobbying for better policies, just also lobbying for the recognition of ASM. And we also work very closely with these small-scale miners to do what is called, you know, your ESG, your environmental social governance, just to make sure that even as you're working, you're continually improving on your own works as you grow your own small-scale mining operation. And with that, I thank you very much for your time, and I will hand back to my colleague Candice, and I'll just say that I'm grateful for the time, and Waziri Mavunde, kama utapata nafasi tuonane nyuma ya tent, kuna mambo mawili moja mbili ningependa kuongea na wewe. Thank you.
Thank you, Edward. In the interest of time, can I have my panelists to come to the stage quickly? We have a short time and then we can start. I would like to invite to the stage my 3 panelists. Dan Odida, the chair of the Artisanal and Small-Scale Mining Association of Kenya, ASMAC. Natasha Nzingo, mining engineer at the Impact Facility, where she is part of the pioneer lease to purchase model for ASM mining equipment in Kenya and Tanzania. And Norbert Massey, senior program manager at PACT, where he leads the Moyo Gems initiative. Welcome to the stage. Mic check. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. So, in the interest of time, I would shorten this, and we will limit this conversation to learning more about the organizations that you represent here today. So, starting over with you, Mr. Dan Odida. ASMAC was formed to give miners a voice. Can you tell us more about the organization and what your mandate is?
Thank you, Candice, to all viewers and attendees. Thanks to the CS, thanks to the PS, all protocols observed. I want to start by saying I'm Dan Odida, the National Chair of Artisanal and Small-Scale Miners Association of Kenya, an association that was formed over 3 years ago, with the sole mandate of bringing together the artisanal and small-scale miners under one platform where they can resonate their voice and also communicate their issues to everyone concerned, the participants, the regulator, all industry players, so that their issues are well understood, well communicated, and well addressed. The other aspect of objective for ASMAC is to resonate the issues that artisanal and small-scale miners undergo in the country. Of course, from the discussions that we've had, it is evident that artisanal and small-scale mining in Kenya is undergoing a number of issues that needs to be addressed. So advocacy is part of the objective of the formation, and also we are looking forward to ensuring that the artisanal and small-scale mining sector is adequately represented in the decision-making table, so that we ensure that their structures that are already established are taken into account, especially when we touch ground for investments and any other thing that pertains to the progress and the development of the sector. And that's why the artisanal and small-scale miners sector in Kenya has a slogan of nothing about us without us, meaning if we have to do anything that touches on their development, their livelihood, then we have to involve them, we have to recognize them, we have to embrace their structures that already exist. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dan. And for context on the crowd, according to a 2018 study, we have approximately 30,000 individuals that are working in the artisanal and small-scale mining sector in the gemstone sector, and around 140,000 men and women working directly in the gold sector specifically. And so the socio-economic potential of this sector is huge, hence why discussions like this are very important and why licensing needs to move forward. Moving over to my colleague, Natasha. Can you tell us a bit more about the work that you do at the Impact Facility, especially with regard to the lease to purchase program for providing mining equipment to artisanal and small-scale miners in Kenya and Tanzania?
Thank you, Candice. As she's mentioned, I'm a mining engineer working for the Impact Facility, and I want to tell you a little bit more about our leasing program. So it started in 2021. We have blended financing. So we have grant financing from the European Partnership for Responsible Minerals, which is the EPRM, and GenM, and we have a private investor. He's more social and impact focused. So how our leasing program works, essentially we will conduct a basic KYC and due diligence on the miner. We will then onboard them into our system, and we will present a profile to our investment committee. Once the profile has been approved and the criteria for approving the profile is based off their performance on ESG frameworks. So we have an impact escalator that is aligned with Craft Code, Fair Mine, and Fair Trade. So once this is done, we roll out lease. Some of our terms in our leasing program, our interest rates are currently at 16% per annum. We offer grace periods of up to 3 months. Sometimes, depending on the mine equipment, we could go as high as 4 months. We also offer payment breaks. As I've mentioned, I'm a mining engineer. We are skilled, we understand the mining world, so we offer unpaid payment breaks to cater for the low seasons during mining, and paid payment breaks to cater to operational risks. One of the success, if I could answer on that we have seen on our program, we have a repeat client who has now completed, I think, their 3rd contract. And as my colleague had mentioned, we have invested so far $178,000 US. And from what I have seen, when miners have the right incentive, when they have the proper support, because we cannot do this by ourselves, we do this with the help of other actors in the industries like Solidaridad, like MESC, the county government. They have the right incentive, and we have already witnessed them adopting ESG practices. We have seen them value up their mining operations. Thank you.
Thank you, Natasha. Moving over to my colleague, Norbert Massey from Pact/Moyo Gems. Can you tell us a bit more about Pact and how you are facilitating market access to artisanal and small-scale gemstone miners in the country?
Yeah, thank you so much, Candice. Yeah, so from Pact, we say building local solutions. So we work with mining communities and support them to build the solutions out of the challenges. So we work with the ASM associations in Kenya, we work with AWEC, and in Tanzania, we work with TAWAMA, Women Miners Association. So one of the biggest challenge that they had was access to markets. Whenever we do the programs in the communities, they will say, our stones are lost. When the brokers take our stones, they don't bring money back to us. They will say that when we sold them, we didn't get anything, or we used the money for the fair. So we had to look into the solutions on how these people could get the access to market directly. So it's when we established Moyo Market. So Moyo Market started in Tanzania, where we would bring the international buyers into the formal markets that were established by the government, and this was happening in Tanga. So after that was successful, then we copied it in Kenya. So in Kenya, we started in Taita Taveta, where we were doing our markets in Voi Gemstone Center, in Mwatate, and Kasigau. So we went very close to the miners in the communities. So when we reached there, women started selling their stones, and they raised their income 5 times to 10 times, and they were happy because they were paid directly while they are there in their communities. That's how we established the Moyo Gems. Thanks.
Thank you so much. It seems like the consensus, at least from today and some of the sessions that we have seen, including what my panelists have been saying today, is that, once the issue of licensing, that bottleneck has been fixed, the next thing that miners can get to, for them to, trade formally in the formal market, is they can easily access financing through local solutions like the Impact Facility or local banks like KCB who are looking to finance the sector. The second thing is access to technology, right? The innovative technology that is needed to increase their production and the efficiency of their operations to produce more gold. With the additional income, they're able to reinvest back to their mines and improve their operational health and safety. And then they can gear towards not only selling locally, but also selling internationally, given that they are able to fit, ESG criteria that are, looked at internationally. And so my closing statement is that once we solve licensing, just like what our peers in Tanzania have done, all these other tick boxes will easily come through, right? And so I highly encourage, the leaders that we have today on the table to facilitate the licensing regime in the country so that our miners can profit from this sector. We only had 10 minutes, but that was it for today. If you have any questions to any of my panelists on any of the programs that we are working with, please come through and ask questions and let us learn from each other. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And we are almost at the tail end of this program, but we promised you that we will have a Q&A. And the moment is here. And so we'll start taking questions, and you'll direct the questions to the person you'd want you to answer those questions. Of course, they're all here and ready to answer your questions. We said we are collaborating, so if you have a question, shooting to the minister from Tanzania, shoot it, and he'll help us to understand how they're doing this and how they're making it happen, and why they are our mentors for this session.
All right, so we have the roving mics. If you have a question or otherwise, just raise your hand, and we'll bring it to you so that we'll take them in batches so that our ministers, cabinet secretary, we're told he's not a minister in some places, and any of the relevant persons can respond to them. Anyone who has a question, just raise your hand and a mic will be brought to you. There's a hand over here. Could we please pass the mic? And I request that as you ask your question, just tell us your name, the organization you represent, and then please stand up, yes, and then let's make it tight in the interest of time so we can have as many people speaking as possible. Karibu.
Thank you so much. By names, I'm Alex Ochola from Migori County. I do sit in the county mining committee. I have two questions. The first one, it is, or it was, an initiative of the government to formalize the artisanal small-scale mining sector, and through this they introduced the mining and marketing cooperative societies. Through the mining and marketing cooperative societies, the artisanals would maybe access the mining permits. We've been hopeful to be permitted, as has been said by the other speakers who had spoken earlier. And as we speak, it is true, no permit has been issued across the country. So my question is, the government did some delineations to the artisanals where they do the artisanal and small-scale activities. And as we speak, we also have the large-scale investors who are maybe doing explorations within different areas. How will delineation help the artisanals? Because the large-scale investors who are also doing explorations, as we speak, the artisanals have been trying to do applications so that they get the mining permits, but the areas over which they want to do the applications are also covered by the large-scale operations, large-scale either mining operations or exploration operations.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for that question. Please, let's try be straight to the point, direct the question to the person who you want to address it so that also we have the questions answered. Thank you very much. Yes, you can pass that mic.
Yes, and also I could get the gooseneck on.
Good afternoon. My name is Michelle Mwambela. I'm the CEO of the Association for Women in Extractives in Kenya. My question goes to the Minister for Mining for Tanzania. Yesterday you talked about beneficiation and mineral processing. Now, the mineral processing requires lots of reliable and affordable energy. It requires advanced skills and technology. Perhaps in your implementation, what kind of challenges have you experienced? How have you done it? And what lessons could you pass along to your neighbors and especially your mentees, as you called them yesterday? Thank you.
Thank you. Another hand anywhere? This is your chance, guys. There was a guy who had asked a question earlier on, and his question was when we had the technocrats here. I think you can ask it now. The gentleman who said he speaks as an African. If you can pass him the mic. I think you had asked a question and we told you it's more fit for this session so that we don't neglect what you had.
So my name is Kiragu Moneki. My question was about how we protect our local and international investors. We have had scenarios where either a local or an international investor will withdraw from investing simply because a mheshimiwa from the location he wants to mine wants maybe a cut or maybe a % of some shares. So this now goes to our CS so that can tell us how we will be protecting our investors. And most probably this comes through at the public participation stage, where you get the politicians go and incite the locals about the incoming investor so that the locals can either decline or resist. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We had a question. Yes, pass the mic, please.
Thank you very much. Kefa Sojuka is my name from Migori, Chairman of Migori County Artisanal Mining Committee. My question was directed to the CS because, Bwana CS, you presented yesterday that you as the CS of the county, you have done your part, gazetting like 42 AMCs across the Republic. Now that this team of yours have failed to advise you accordingly, because the act is they shall advise the CS. We are not having any single permit across the country. What is our next move after the artisanal miners? Number two, banks are here with us, and any single time when we walk to any financial institution, they are like, we need your permit. Would you kindly, as a government or government negotiation, could you tell us on the floor today that what are we going to do as from tomorrow, so that when we walk into any financial institution, then we are not chased away because we are not permitted or we are not licensed? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please pass the mic. She had a question. Just be upstanding.
All right. So my question is...
sorry, your name, sorry?
Right. My name is Wanjiro. So for someone who is looking to add value to an already processed product, what is the licensing criteria? The second thing is, since registration is virtual, is online, is there a database that I can be able to go to and identify who is located where based on the product that I want to purchase? Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Joseph Ekuru from Turkana. I'm the chairperson of Artisanal Miners. My question is about transboundary minerals, particularly gold. At times where we cross into Uganda, or people cross from Uganda to Kenya, and we go for gold rush. And most of the time when we go into Uganda, most of our artisanal miners' equipments, like now the detectors, metal detectors, are confiscated. When a miner is arrested, the miner is released but the equipments are confiscated and retained, and most of them got lost. From the question of yesterday, from the Africa Mineral Strategic Group, and from what I heard from the minister from Tanzania about the artisanal miners being Tanzania 100% ownership, and also for Kenya, artisanal miners being 100% ownership. What is Africa thinking and going to do about African moving from one country to another for minerals? When are we going to remove this issue of being you are a Kenyan and you are not a Tanzanian, yet we stand in between the boundaries? One foot is the other side of the boundary, and the other foot is a meter away from the boundary. Or your homestead is in between the boundaries. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Last question here before we get to...
So, hello everybody, my name is Charlene. We are doing minings. Yes? Okay. So my question was about the security issues, because I have investors all over. So,
sorry, if you could be a bit louder, maybe you could boost the mic as well.
Okay, I'm talking about the security-wise. So if we go to a certain place like Migori or Oyugis, we are being chased away by police. They are asking for permits, they are asking for, why are you here? Okay, so we need to know how secure we are. Even our investors, they're like, we don't want to deal with you anymore, because your country is not even secured.
So this is an issue of permit. So if you don't have permit, it's just security. Okay, security. Dan, you have that security. There's a question here.
All right, we are closing with that one. Let's close with this one, please. The minister needs to address the number of them here.
Good afternoon. My name is Victoria Gotti, and I work with Zoom Lion, which is a heavy construction machinery company. So I have two questions directed to the CS. One is, as the government is planning to formalize the artisanal miners, what is the plan to have them fit into the mechanization, the transition into mechanization? Then number two, I need to ask about their plans to maybe have the same in terms of compliance and safety.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. Waziri, I see you have... Yes?
Yeah, I'm Caroline Boga from the county government of Siaya. Okay, my question is to the CS. What is the place of the county government in the mining process? Who constitutes the mining implementation committees, both at the national level and at the county level? Because most of these things are done in the county, but the county government doesn't have much say, but it's the one that is affected majorly. For example, when somebody dies, it is the county, or when there's a problem between the investors and the community, it is on the county government.
All right, thank you very much. And we close the questions there, ladies and gentlemen. Waziri, you could come and you have a list of them that are to you, and you will make the call on whether you will delegate some.
First of all, can you hear me? Can I be heard? Hello? First of all, let me just say how grateful I am for this interaction. Before we go to the closing session, I'll make an attempt to respond to your questions, beginning by the very last one. If I got it correct, was by Caroline on the place of the counties. Did I get that correct? I mean, in regards to what our law provides, everybody has been rightfully placed, even in terms of functions as scheduled in the Constitution. So, I'll give you an example. What are counties supposed to do? First, let's acknowledge that we share revenue with counties. Whatever the national government makes, the law provides that there's a share for the county government, as stipulated in our law. But matters planning, matters spatial planning, matters infrastructure, and so on and so forth are a role of county government. In terms of licensing, if I went and I sought community land consent that is held in trust by the county, then the discussion and negotiation is directly between county and the investment and obviously the ministry. But in terms of the artisanal mining, if I may say that all of us have a role. County expects revenue. County expects revenue. And matters planning at the county level purely is a function of the county. But what is important to note is that a lot of the artisanal practices today are not regulated. They are not properly structured and organized. And I was surprised by my brother from Migori who said the government was or is. I don't know whether it was lost of words. Government is committed. Government is committed. That is why, number one, we decriminalized artisanal activities. Let's begin there. There was a time artisanal or artisans used to be arrested because of extraction. That we have dealt with. Number two, we now have engaged, it is the ministry that engaged with NEMA to have a collective approach. Because initially we found that we could not license small groups simply because of the environmental impact discussion. But now we brought NEMA on board where we're saying, do a social and environmental impact assessment around an area, taking into consideration the number of cooperatives that sit in the area or alienated for them to do practices of mining. But also, yes, we gazetted 42 out of the 47 committees. I have asked Thomas Mutuiwa, because what I am supposed to do as a minister is to give concurrence. I've asked, have you received, Thomas, in your office? Put your microphone. Have you received anything to be forwarded to me?
Check.
And if you have, how many and from where? And why haven't you forwarded? If you haven't, because I haven't received.
Sir, I think we have very few that came, I think, 2 weeks ago. About 6 or 7.
When did they come?
About 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
Yes, and we will forward them, sir. But then again, as you are explaining, you remember, sir, we had the issues of the transfers with the officers who are the secretaries to the committees. But now we have the secretaries.
Okay.
So we are working on
So
that,
if you have them on your desk, can you make sure you forward them to me?
Yes, sir.
By when?
By Monday.
So then I can release them by, they qualify to be approved, right? We can concur with them.
Let me recheck, sir.
Okay, check and forward.
Let me recheck,
so
sir.
Just for the issues of clarity, nothing has come to my desk. This will be the first one. And normally when it comes, it doesn't stay for more than a day. Senior PS, once it comes to us, we will release it. Then the issue on the chairperson who asked for what? For equipment, I think. Did you say equipment across the borders, right? That is why we invited the minister from Somalia, minister from Tanzania, and Uganda, who are represented, and South Sudan, so that we can try and harmonize. because really that harmonization is the solution as to how we will handle our minerals across, even in matters tariff. For example, what we charge in different minerals, so that we avoid double charges, and even incentives to value add. It is best that we have a discussion around how do we harmonize tariffs and the processes. So this is a discussion that we have begun. Hopefully we will be successful to get to the meaningful conclusion very, very soon. The other question that I was asked, if I got it correct, somebody asked me a very interesting question that, how do you, I don't know whether we need to have a conversation, you might attend, and you give me details if there's an MP or a leader or a governor who asked for shares, but because that is criminal. If you brought an investor and anybody in government has asked for shares, it is absolutely criminal. And if there's any information that you have, you may need to speak to us, possibly you may attend, so you give us the details. So it means there's no human interaction there, besides what you pick as a consent from the landowners. So you go to landowners, whether community or private land, so it begins there. Once you get your, and now we've even tried to streamline so that we don't have rejections. It is very difficult for me to let you go through a process through communities and NEMA and the MRB, and then it comes to the PSS, it comes to me, probably you've waited for 3 months for a rejection. Is there a point really? So, to circumvent that challenge or to cure that problem is that we've even included now our county mining officers to assist in securing consents. Because there's a tendency where communities, they will easily, or they could, give one consent to 1 or 2 or 3 groups. Then you find yourself sitting on, like myself as a CS, I have 3-4 people complaining that all of them own consents. So we better now start the process at the grassroots level, at the very onset, so that we take ownership even at our level. So that once a license comes to my desk, it's just for approval. So these are things that we will continue to want to sensitize the people and also the communities. But before you get to the point where you're negotiating, I don't know how an MP comes. I don't see a role of an MP besides inciting the people, like we have seen in Ikolomani, but we have succeeded, isn't it? Because we tell people the truth. There's nothing to hide in matters mining. So, unaona nyumba tunaambia jina wewe MP. Tapatia DCI kazi ya kufanya. Then, what was the other question for me?
There was Wanjiro who asked about looking to
value addition.
Yes, value addition.
That is a difficult question. So in what mineral in particular? Because so what did you want? Wanjiro, what did you exactly want? Like a license to do what?
Thank you for that. So I'm thinking broad, because if I go back in history a bit, in Kenya we produced coffee and we used to export all of it. Kenyans never thought they have the capacity to add value to the coffee, and we consume coffee within the country. Then the companies that started adding value.
Why don't you be specific to minerals?
So if we go to mineral, I'm thinking about copper and I'm thinking about gold.
What do you want to do with copper?
Probably make healthy related materials, because copper is very good.
What do you want exactly to do? You want to want to get a license to process copper?
Yes.
Supply, will give it to you.
Okay. Then I was asking, because of that line of many people involved in the mineral, where do we get the database also? So that we know who is regularized, so that you get good quality products when you need to purchase.
Or meaning if you're purchasing from artisanal or large-scale miners?
Whoever. It could be artisanal, it could be large-scale, but they are regulated. So you don't
yes,
have...
Yes, they're regular, but I'll advise you.
Yes.
See, minerals, the way they're extracted, sometimes they're in different forms, different quality.
Yes.
That is why you see there's always blending or different minerals to achieve your desired results.
Yes.
So for you, you will test every extraction. But I can tell you where they're producing good copper right now. In Migori, there is good copper.
Yes.
And because we have banned the export of copper in raw form, I advise you go to Migori and engage the artisanal. They're here.
Okay.
They have copper and they're struggling to sell it. So if you are willing to set up a factory, we will license you tomorrow.
All right.
Set it up and start buying from the Migori people.
Great. Migori people, look for me.
Can you raise your hands, Migori people? And clap for her. She's a buyer of your raw material. And if you get stuck, KCB is in the room. They will fund you. And equity is in the room also. But KCB, we believe in you. KCB, najua mtalipa hiyo pesa. Did I forget any other question? Moderator.
There are those who are saying, this is Charlie who said security are chasing them. Police are chasing them away. They've got a concern about security. And she
Who said that?
Migori, Charlie.
Who said that? Can you be upstanding? Yesterday I told you, you have got very beautiful hair. Mnamwonyaje nyinyi mwangalieni? Ni hatari si hatari? In fact, come to the front so Mavunde can see you. You know, many people here sitting in front, we actually love women. We love women, right, Mavunde? Don't you love women? I love women, but you know why? Because they are our mothers. Don't you love your mothers? Wale walikuwa na akili mbaya. Go ahead.
So, hello everybody. So, my question and concern was security-wise. Last time we went to Migori to access gold, to check about the minings, but instead we were chased away by police. Actually, instead of being taken to Migori police station, we were taken to Hispania. Yeah, Hispania. The other time I brought investors.
Okay. What did you exactly go to do? You wanted to
buy gold because we have
gold. Okay.
So the first thing we wanted to do is mining. But we were advised if we can maybe introduce ourselves, know people who are mining.
Sasa, you see this gentleman called Thomas Mutuiwa? This is the Secretary for Mines.
Secretary for Minings.
I chose him because he's an old man. I'm sure he will not harass you. Ningekupatia kijana hapa, ungezama. But Thomas,
yes,
you can exchange contacts and advise her how she can apply for possibly a trading license.
We have.
A gold trading license?
Yes.
For which year?
This year. We got it January 2026.
Gold trading license?
Yes.
With an aggregation center, with a point of buying? Because
a point of buying?
The licenses that we give are not for roaming around. You can't have a license to go everywhere. You must have a license that is stationed at a point where, and by the way, there's a big opportunity there. And we have now a design where if you put it up, these artisanals that produce will come to you to sell. You don't have to go to look for them. So, I don't see a license that will enable you to be in Pokot, to be in Migori, to be in Kisumu at the same time. But Thomas there will help you. We have a prototype of some kind where you can set up and buy gold. And we will do that. And I'll sign your license.
And we will be secured. Because me, I'm afraid of police.
You will be secured. Where police? Is there any
I don't
policeman
like
in the
police,
room?
so...
Is there any policeman in the room? Where policeman? How even do you harass such a beautiful girl like this? Yuko wapi? Ayuko? Usijali, you will not be harassed. We will do that.
Okay, thank you. So that was on your concern.
No problem. That
Thank
will
you.
be. But that guy, take his number. Thomas Mutuiwa. Thomas, saidia msichana. Guide her. And I think this is exactly why we are succeeding in this conference. Because people are now getting to understand the processes and what needs to be done going forward as we unlock the potential. Kuna swali ingine?
I think there was
Now is Mavunde's.
There was Victoria. There was Victoria from Zoomland, I think, who was asking about plans to fit in into mechanization. Yes.
You see, artisanal mining is definitely very good because it is self-employment and it has enormous potential of growth. But also we must accept, people must. So the transition, there has been very good stories in the global space of how artisanal graduated to be small-scale mining. And nothing stops you, but you just have to accept it. You can't, and by the way, artisanal is properly defined in our law. Properly defined, what, how, and the methods of artisanal. You cannot, we have had a case that we've dealt with in Pokot, for example, where they said alienate, and we cut off some parcel of land that belonged to some concession and gave it to a cooperative. In fact, 2 cooperatives, if I remember well. 2 cooperatives in the name of artisanal mining. But when our officers went to the ground, we found that in the block of the one cooperative had 18, was it 12? One had 12 and one other had, the total was about 27. So we had 27 operators sitting in a block that is managed by 2 cooperatives. What is interesting for us to note, and we say we must redefine, is the fact that out of the 27 operators, each one of them had a minimum of 5 excavators. Yes, I have even pictures and video evidence. And they come strongly and vehemently defending the position of their rights. Oh, we are the community. This belongs to us. And therefore we must continue to do what it's our land and so on and so forth. But the most important thing is that, number one, they have become landlord miners, if I don't know if I call it correctly. They take the land and they tell you, bring your 5 excavators, you bring 7, you bring 10, and then they report to us for harassment as if they are practicing artisanal mining. So we found there close to 200-300 excavators. Tell me how on earth can it be possible that you have 400 excavators extracting, and you call yourself artisanal? How? Even large-scale mining sometimes don't deploy that number of excavators. And you know the sad bit is what? You dig haphazardly and you turn that land, barren land, dangerous for communities, dangerous for livestock, and never rehabilitated because you've collected your valuables and you've gone. And strangely, we don't even know who you are. And our responsibility is to ensure that we have sustainable mining, safe, and environmental friendly. So all those factors are real. And we cannot be very simplistic about certain conversation where we say, it is our land. I've had an issue with, for example, gypsum miners. And by the way, last year, I had put a freeze to gypsum mining until this ministry was involved. You remember? The cement producers were complaining. And there was a lot of pressure that, oh, we earn our livelihood. And everybody is focused on being registered as a small-scale miner, meaning you only acquire a permit. You are escaping responsibility by taking a permit. Number one, you don't engage the community because you just have a permit that will enable you to extract, load on the truck, transport it because you've been given a permit. But you don't take responsibility to even pay royalty, to even have an agreement with the community of their fair share from your gross sales. But because there was so much political pressure, we said, okay, fine, you do it. It was only last week we started receiving letters from the leaders of the region who are making noise that their land now has become barren. They've created quarries, abandoned. In some instances, livestock have fallen in and died. The other day, some two young kids were rescued because someone was able to dive in and rescue. So why do we need to do that? Because we're looking for shortcuts. It cannot, and it should not continue like that. So just rightfully apply for your mining license, give us some insurance or some bond for rehabilitation and move on. And that way, by the way, you'll even make more profits. It is when Equity Bank, KCB, Bank, Access, all those that presented here can recognize you and fund you. And you build a long, sustainable, profitable business. Let me end here with the questions. Can I?
I just wanted you to, there's at least again 2 solutions to the people who had questions. Just for the benefit of the broader audience, for those who have probably been victims of the alleged harassment by police, what could you say of that? Because the lady, you've at least addressed hers, but for the broader audience. Then secondly, again, just for clarity, is there a platform where people can get to know who is a verified or legitimate and legally operating person in the value chain, as what Wanjiro was asking, I believe, just so they can know, is there a database where
there's obviously database on our side because we license them. But everybody is given a certificate. And when you walk into some place, you're supposed to show your certificate that has our signatures and some barcode of some sort. But I will find a way to see how we can display it by the way, in our websites. We will put them in the ministry's website. But the police shouldn't harass you. If a police comes and you have a license, why would anybody harass you? And if there are any cases of such harassment, I'm happy to take them up, like really, because there's a reason as to why someone is licensed. And I know the enforcement largely is done by our mining police, and I've never had a case of complaint. If you have any, you can even bring it to me in some envelope of some sort. Come on, ogopa kubibwa juju usiku. And I will act. But I have taken up the idea of listing them up on our website so that you know. By the way, it will also help us to deal with Washosh. The other day, someone told me they want to buy gold from Kenya. And he had been told someone has like 7 tons of gold. 7 tons. And it was sitting in some airport facility. Really, it was a very interesting story. So this guy decides, okay, so I asked him, who looked for you? He said, there's a guy who told me there's a great opportunity, some good amount of gold that came from some country, and it is stuck somewhere in Jomo Kenyatta Airport. They only need me to pay insurance money and private jet and a bit of facilitation for the officers there, and we can load it. I asked a guy, and by there is a very senior A-listed celebrity globally. I don't know even how he found my number. He had called one of Mavunde's friend in Tanzania. Mwanaefe is the one that called me and told me there's a celebrity who had been in some situation. So I asked him, I called him, yes sir, I hear you're looking for gold. I have great potential for gold mining here. No, I got my gold at the airport. I said, okay, sir, you mean you have gold at the airport? Yes. How much gold? 7 tons. 7 tons? So can you give me the story? When he narrated the story, for a moment, I just wondered, okay, some things about life is really about luck. Because if I say something, maybe, this TikTok, it will reach to him, he'll want, let me say, acha niseme Kiswahili. Mara nyingi hata nashangaa hao watu walifika vipi level hiyo. Honestly, I asked him, sir, How on earth is it even possible for someone who has custody and owns 7 tons of gold? How can it be that he will fail to raise insurance money? Could you not advise him to take half a kilo? I told him, you should have just told him, you know what, just take half a kilo. Or even, because he had been swindled off about $4 million. $4 million in the current gold price is how many tons? How many kilos of mavunde? $4 million is what? It was 2 million. 30 kgs. You have 7 tons, my friend. Remove 30 kgs. Just 30 kgs. Look for Caroline. She's looking for gold with her clients. Caroline will go borrow money from KCB and they will buy. And they will trade with it. How on earth is it even possible that you fall for that trap? But now if we do this and we list our licenses, and by the way, let me finish the story. Then I told him, give me the licenses. He said, I saw your name on the license. And true, in that license, there was my name, Hassan Ali Joho. But the signature was Mvuria's. You know, so this guy went and just removed who's the current minister, and he removed the name of the former minister and put mine, without changing any other thing. And there was, the director was Kituku. There was Kituku there. Even though he doesn't know, Kituku no longer signs those licenses. But anyway, we will do that so that we can be efficient and transparent. Finally, I just want to use this moment to thank each one of you. I was telling my peers, I've attended very many conferences, very many, for different conversations. But the interest in this one is exemplary. It is something that has got us to start thinking on how we can re-strategize. Because obviously, the interest has grown. We've generated a lot more interest. Ordinarily, at a time like this room would be empty. But this room is still full of people. It tells us that there's so much that we need to do on our side. So therefore, I do not take it for granted that you took time, sat here and participated. It is our ambition, it is our aspiration, it is our mission and our commitment to unlock mining in Kenya. We want to do it. I told Mentor here that I acknowledge our brothers in the neighboring country, in Tanzania, they are ahead of us. And we acknowledge it. And because we don't want to really reorganize things or reinvent the wheel, we will emulate the good stories. The good, successful stories we will emulate. We will also learn from the mistakes. The only difference is that we in Kenya here, as a word of caution to Mentor, we in Kenya here are runners, fast runners. Fast and also long distance. We are not only fast, we are also marathoners. So the time we pass you, you'll read or see us from Viusasa. On a light note. But I want just to thank everybody who participated, really, those that supported us. Your contribution has gotten us to think bigger. We are in discussions with the ministers. My brother, the Minister of Federal Republic of Somalia, Dahir here, and Anthony, and others that have gone. We're saying there has been a focus on the southern part of the continent on hosting these mega mining conversations. Maybe here in the region, Eastern Central Africa, we should organize ourselves. Isn't it? And with partners like Nation, with partners like Nation. I don't think there's anything we cannot do. Right? So it's now upon ourselves to think bigger, to plan bigger, and execute. Sinamna hiyo. So I don't want to bore you with a lot of stories. This evening is the evening for the mentor. I don't know whether that name will stick, but I suspect it will stick. So you can come and talk to us as you close this conference for us. But niseme asante sana. I mean, no words can thank you enough for what you have done for us in this mining conversation. So because we are people of protocol and respect, allow me for very brief remarks, to ask my brother Dahir to come. You're done. Chairman, Mr. President, you arrived when? Well, Mr. President, umekuja wakati tumalize. Na wewe ndio President of Chamber of Commerce. Umekuwa, eh? Mr. President, come and make some few remarks. Karibu.
Thank you very much, Honorable CS Joe. True to the issue of time, you know, I'm a business person, and you know, time is money, so I would not want to spend a lot of time, lest I be given a bigger bill. So, as the President of the Kenya National Chambers of Commerce and Industry, indeed, Honorable CS, the Principal Secretary, Harry Kimutai, distinguished regional ministers who are present here today, it is my honor to be in this closing ceremony, and as a Kenya National Chambers of Commerce, we do represent approximately 100,000 members across the country, and equally also has a network of the International Chambers of Commerce. And to make it very practical, Honorable CS, I received yesterday a demand, and I hope some of you are here and you could be able to do that. And there is one company from one of the chambers, and they want to buy fluoride ore, 1 million tons. The demand period is for 3 years. And asking the quality should be more than 55%, impurities, calcium carbonate less than 1%, Ken grade and 4.0 central grade, Gobi grade. So those are some of the opportunities the Kenya National Chambers of Commerce can be able to present to the mining community that are here. So I'm honored to be here today and congratulate the team that has done that, Nation Media Group, with over 500 delegates, ministers across the continent, have been here. What has happened in this room for the last 2 days reflects the Kenya that has done hard work to earn its seat on the global mineral table. His address by His Excellency the President was crystal clear, that we mine, we process, we refine, we manufacture here and leverage on African Free Continental Trade Area. As the private sector, we receive this message very loud and clear, and we are fully aligned, CS, to be able to partner in that aspect of building Kenya. In May of 2005, that is 1 year ago, we came to your ministry, and in addition to that also we met His Excellency the President, and we presented our critical areas that required reforms, and we are seeing those benefits today bearing fruits. The activation of the county licensing framework, bringing licensing structure legitimacy to small-scale miners across the country, was exactly what the private sector required. Today I had a meeting with over 8 cooperatives from Kitui, and I'm very happy, CS, that you've just mentioned that if someone wants to set up a processing plant for copper, you can be able to give that license immediately. I shall be entering your office as soon as tomorrow, if you still have the energy to be there tomorrow, to apply for that license so that we can be able to take that opportunity for purposes of value addition. Our members, especially who are in the counties, they compose almost over 800 to 1 million artisanal miners, which are there to transform the Kenya's informal sector. The investment that we have put as government in terms of value addition, the gemstone processing plant in Voi, Taita Taveta iron ore palletization plant, and gold refinery plant with a partnership with the private sector, we commend you for that job that you have done as a ministry.